Hey loves, this is Janelle, the relationship coach behind the successful invisible. Let's talk about something women experience all the time, but men rarely confront. This Huffington Post article breaks down why men so often stay silent when other men cross the line, using something called the bystander effect. Picture it. A woman is clearly uncomfortable, a man won't back off, and the room stays quiet. No help, no intervention, just silence. Today, we're unpacking why that happens, how masculinity, peer pressure, and social conditioning play a role, and why the silence isn't harmless. Because when men don't check other men, i.e., men don't hold other men accountable, women are left to navigate unsafe situations alone, and that has real consequences in dating, relationships, and everyday life. All right, so let's jump into this article from the Huffington Post. It says the bystander effect explains why men don't stand up to other men. This scene plays out so many times. A woman is out at a bar when a man approaches her and acts in a manner that makes her uncomfortable. She tries to get him to go away, but he doesn't take the hint. She quickly scans the room looking for help, but everyone else drinks, chats, and goes about their night. Many women have stories of an unwanted encounter, whether it's at school, at work, or out at a party. And they're often left to fend for themselves while bystanders, especially men, look away, scroll their phones, or pretend not to notice, taking part in what's called the bystander effect. The bystander effect describes the general tendency for people to be less likely to speak up or act in a group setting when more people are present in the situation. Catherine Sanderson, a professor of psychology at Amherst College and author of Why We Act, Turning Bystanders into Moral Rebels, told HuffPost. So, while both men and women can fall victim to being bystanders, research shows that women are more likely to intervene in uncomfortable social situations than men. While both men and women can fall victim to being bystanders, a 2022 systemic review found that women are more likely to intervene in these kind of situations than men. Another study from 2016 concluded that different masculine norms may influence men's willingness to intervene, such as confusion over what's acceptable behavior or fear of what their social peers may think if they spoke up. But of course, speaking out against any harmful situation is not only the right thing to do, it can save lives. When masculinity gets defined as dominance or toughness, stepping in can feel like a trap. If you call out another guy, you risk being seen as soft, said Ron Berg, PhD licensed psychologist. A healthier way to frame masculinity is as protecting the safety of the community. It's not about shaming the other guy. It's about showing that in your space, respect matters. Behind the silence, socialization. So, why aren't men speaking up more? First, some situations are ambiguous, Sanderson said, such as recognizing whether a comment is actually a compliment or harassment. When that happens, people fear acting stupid or overreacting, so they start looking toward each other to see how to respond. No one may step up even if many people find a particular comment or behavior problematic, she said. Gender socialization also plays a role in what men even consider problematic. Men are often socialized to brush off certain behaviors as just flirting or guys being guys, which means they may not even register a situation as a problem in the first place, Berg explained. That doesn't mean they're intentionally ignoring it. It means their internal filter has been shaped to minimize it. When many people are present in a situation where any one of them could intervene, each person doesn't feel personally compelled to step up, Sanderson explained. The setting matters too. In public spaces like bars, streets, or transit, Berg notes that things usually happen quickly and without much context. That distance and anonymity make it easier to tell yourself it's not your problem. In workplaces or schools, power dynamics can also cause people to hesitate. They worry about HR, grades, or social repercussions, but there's also a stronger chance that someone will act because relationships are often personal. If you know the person being harassed or you're friends with them, that familiarity can cut through the bystander freeze, Berg said. Lastly, people fear the consequences of speaking up, especially if it's against someone powerful. Sometimes stepping up can lead to physical harm, Sanderson said. Sometimes acting can lead people to experience social consequences, such as losing friends or even their careers. What the bystander freeze excuses. In tight knit groups, such as athletic teams, people feel considerable pressure to show loyalty to other group members, Sanderson added. This sometimes translates into staying silent in the face of bad behavior by their peers, sticking together, regardless of right or wrong. For men, specifically, these dynamics get amplified by gender norms and peer pressure. There's the fear of retaliation, sure, but also the fear of social pushback from other men, getting called dramatic, weak, or uncool, Berg added. And conformity is powerful. If the group is laughing something off, many men follow along even if they feel uncomfortable. However, Berg suggests thinking twice about what loyalty entails. I'd argue real loyalty means pulling your friend back when he's about to cross a line, not letting him embarrass himself or hurt someone else. A quick, hey man, let's step outside can actually be an act of loyalty. One of the most insidious aspects of bystander silence that Berg highlights is how many men minimize behavior that may rise to violence. Men will say, he's just drunk or he's just flirting. The problem is that these behaviors don't usually stop on their own, they escalate. Cultural messages also don't help. Generations of mind your own business and boys will be boys have taught men to stay out of it and to excuse bad behavior. They tell men that if they step in, they're meddling and that what the harasser is doing is somehow just part of being a guy, Berg says. Not just a call out, but calling your values up. Stepping up isn't about calling someone out. It's about calling your values up, Berg said. Most of the time, intervening takes little time and involves minimal risk, but it can mean everything to the person being targeted. According to Berg, the easiest time to intervene, as you notice an encounter feeling off, is actually the safest time to step in. Start by redirecting the conversation, saying something like, "Did you catch the game last night?" or commenting about the bar. Then ask the person being targeted if they need help and assure them you're around if things get out of hand. Other strategies include involving others in the area, such as staff or security, especially if the situation appears intense. Or even a simple direct message like, "Hey, not cool," to the person doing the harassing goes a long way. Berg suggests building these habits into daily life. Practice reading the room, pay attention to body language when you're out, and get in the habit of noticing when someone looks uncomfortable. That awareness is a skill you can sharpen, and it makes stepping in feel less like a leap and more like a natural extension of what you've already observed. Bystander intervention programs combining several elements can be effective, Berg adds. In fact, a 2018 review involving student participation in bystander intervention programs across Kentucky high schools saw a gradual decrease in sexual and dating violence acceptance. Programs such as Bringing in the Bystander and Green Dot help individuals increase their knowledge about what harassment looks like, shift their attitudes towards less tolerance of sexist behavior, and improve their confidence in intervening. I think we all want to live in a world in which more people speak up in the face of problematic behavior, Sanderson said, adding that another great way to stand up to violence or harassment is to think about how it would feel if this happened to someone in their own life. Would they want the women in their lives to be harassed? If not, they have a responsibility to act, to shift social norms, and to define being a man as being brave enough to speak up no matter the cost. Let's jump into one of my favorite parts of the videos for my blogs and article series. And that's where I just offer you my thoughts on the article or blog post that I just read. All right, so this article is extremely eye opening, and I think a lot of people who have witnessed this, observed this, been on the receiving end of men's non action as a woman or as a femme, you know that the bystander effect is really real. And I feel it's amplified within a woman's own community. So I can't speak for what white women go through. I'm not a white woman, but I feel they feel it very strongly when they're out and it's a white man harassing them and other white men around, right? I feel the same is true for black women. And as a black woman, I can speak on that. If I see a situation that's looking, janky and a woman is uncomfortable and I can see that it's about to escalate, I definitely am aware and I'm seeking, like, how do I diffuse this? Is this something I feel I can go up and diffuse? Or is this something I feel I need to get security for, etc.? But I feel that as a black woman, I feel it very amplified within my own community. If a black guy's harassing me, other black men are just standing there doing nothing. And I think the bystander effect flies into the face of the lie that men are providers and protectors, the protectors part, because they're not. They are more heavily influenced by the bystander effect than women, like by a pretty large margin, actually. And it's very frustrating when men, they want to talk tough, but in reality, many of them are scared of other men and they would rather see a woman absorb another man's violence than to step up. And every time I've had this discussion with men, the phrasing comes up for men, or the gotcha moment that it's not comes up for men when they ask, well, am I supposed to put my life on the line? First of all, every situation is not going to be that. And I don't think most people are going to be in situations where that happens. But second of all, it has to do with a couple things. A couple factors play into this. First, selfishness. Men are selfish, okay? And they're never thinking about the other. They're never thinking about, if they see it, they're like, oh, she's not my sister, cousin, friend, I don't care. They don't care. That selfishness also aligns like a one-to-one with a lack of empathy. Many men, that's not a black man thing, men lack empathy for their fellow human being. It's crazy because they want empathy from women so badly, and they want women to have sympathy and empathy if they're, something bad happened to them, but they never offer it. A lot of men also, if they aren't attracted to a woman, or if they got rejected by a woman and another man is harassing that woman, they feel that a woman deserves to be treated poorly. A lot of men don't like women. A lot of men hate women. A lot of misogynoir, a lot of misogynist in their mindset, whether it's conscious or not conscious. And then men only care about the opinions of other men, right? So they are afraid of looking uncool in front of their bros, okay? And they also do not want to identify problematic behavior, because oftentimes when a man sees another man harassing a woman or bothering a woman in an establishment, like in a social establishment, they think the behavior is okay. And that says a lot about their own characters, morals, and values. And that's what the article was talking about. It's not about, embarrassing or shaming somebody. It's about really taking a look at yourself and saying, do I have enough values to understand that this situation is not okay? And me being a man, I'm bigger. A man saying to himself, me being a man, I'm bigger than the woman who's being harassed. And if I pay attention, I can probably figure out a way to diffuse this in the least crazy way possible. That's another factor why I believe that the bystander effect is so prevalent among men. A lot of men do not read the room or a social situation, or if they see something that makes them uncomfortable, especially when it involves a woman and a man treating a woman a certain way, they have been socialized to ignore it. But also, I think another layer of that is a lot of men don't like or hate women, and they think pretty women should be treated bad, or women they're not physically attracted to should be treated bad, or, plus size women should be treated bad, or unambiguously black women should be treated bad. It's very problematic the way that a lot of men are okay with the behavior they see from their fellow brethren, from fellow males, and they see the problem. It's not that they can't comprehend it. And I think that's where I disagree a little bit with the article. I think if you're talking about younger folks, people in college, early 20s, mid 20s, they can't read a situation. I'm talking about the demographic when people are 35 plus, the demographic of women that I work with as a coach. They are in rooms with men of comparable or older ages. So we're not talking about kids. We are talking about men who see the behavior, they have full understanding that it's problematic, and they don't intervene for a plethora of the one or many of the reasons I just mentioned. And this is what makes women feel very unsafe around men. And as a collective, a lot of women over the past couple years have decided to fall back on dating and partnering. The 4B movement being one of those, things that we heard a lot about in the last couple years, and women are opting out of dealing with men overall. One of the other reasons that the bystander effect, I think, it didn't say this in the article, that I think it's so normalized with men is men a lot of time want to commit a lot of violence, and they would rather see another man take out their violence on a woman than have to confront that behavior. Once again, like I said, it's a selfishness, it's a lack of empathy, it's a lack of seeing women as human. And a lot of men see women as a set of orifices and services. They don't ever want to say that, but that's what they think. And they try to negate and downplay a lot of very piss poor and problematic behavior. And let's even take it a step further. Not just bad behavior that they see out. They excuse a lot of bad behavior in the men of the men in their close association, friends and associates and relatives. They can see their friend, their brother, their cousin, you know what I mean, or an acquaintance do or say something about women, especially if it's doing something to a woman that they know is wrong, but they won't address it because they always want to opt out of being responsible. And that's a huge part of it too. A lot of men don't hold their own self accountable, so it's very hard for them to hold other men accountable because a lot of them want to excuse their own behavior. So then they're okay excusing another man's behavior. Then layer that on top of the misogynoir, them being misogynistic, not seeing women as human, lacking empathy and being selfish. You have a perfect storm for why these situations are seen on repeat. And we've seen more than a few clips on social media of men all out assaulting, harassing, being totally problematic to a woman, and other men are just standing there sipping their drinks, scrolling their phones. And then when the same men, then a woman steps in or a group of women step in and diffuse it or handle it, or, if women can fight, rock the shit out of some man, and then other men then have a problem because that also goes to male entitlement. So I think this is a multifaceted reason. There are multifaceted reasons why the bystander effect happens at all, but especially so it's so prevalent in men as compared to women, because women are socialized to be community minded. We usually have a better read on a situation and are looking at things and understand context. And many of us feel energy shifts in a room and pay attention to them because our life depends on that in general, maybe not that specific situation. So men really need to take a hard look at themselves in the mirror and understand when they say, oh, men hold other men accountable and men are protectors. No, you're not. The science shows that you all usually will wimp out and have a lot of reasons and excuses why you won't address another man's behavior. And I need women to understand that this is a real thing. If you are dating a man that exhibits this behavior, or even if you have a male friend or relative, he has let you know in no uncertain terms he is an unsafe person. He will not protect you if something happens because he's more worried about protecting his ego, his image, his own safety, etc. That is not a man that you need to really be around because you already know he's unsafe. He is unsafe. He will not look out for you. He'll be the first one to run away when something happens, or at minimum, he will not address it and step in and you're kind of on your own. So women need to see that if they see this behavior in a man in their close personal association, whether it's family, whether it's coworker, but especially if it's lover, boyfriend, etc., they need to understand they need to distance themselves from that man, keep, if you have to still deal with them, keep the engagement what it is, but keep it real light, but never go anywhere where you would need somebody to watch your back, because that man is not going to do it. He is going to have a million reasons why. And if something were to jump off and something to happen to you, or threat or danger be present to you, he will do his damnedest to figure out how to blame you, the woman, because it's easier for him to do that than to ever take a look in the mirror and really confront his own self, his behaviors, his own set of values, his own set of principles. Because self-awareness and self-reflection are things that people of high emotional intelligence and high levels of emotional maturity practice. And a lot of men today do not wade in those waters, basically. So that's my insights on the article. Let me know your thoughts below. If this conversation resonated with you, that's not by accident. Understanding dynamics like the bystander effect isn't just about social commentary. It's about learning how to protect yourself, sharpen your discernment, and date with clarity in the real world. Inside my exclusive coaching community on Coffee, we go deeper than videos and articles. You'll get guided reflections, practical dating frameworks, interactive exercises, and a space to ask thoughtful questions, so you're not just consuming information, you're actually applying it. If you're ready to date smarter, recognize red flags sooner, and stop carrying the emotional labor alone, I'd love to support you there. Check the link in the description to join my Coffee community. Until next time, this is your relationship coach, Janelle. Stay empowered, stay aware, and never ignore what your intuition is trying to tell you.